Tell us a little bit about your book. What do you want people to know about Blameless?
Hope. One word. I had so much not going for me. My parents had papers to donate my organs.
So in your book, you mentioned several supernatural experiences that happened while you were in a coma.
All of a sudden, it was 3 a.m. and the vial got thrown across the room. The light in my room started to flicker. From the book I wrote, it says right here, hope is a choice you make, not a feeling you get. It may be hard, you'll get through it.
Welcome to another episode of Voices of the Valley. I'm Heather Lipson, and I'm here today with Kassidy Brewer, who recently wrote the book Blameless.
Hi, my name is Kassidy Brewer. I wrote my first book, Blameless. This is my baby. She's on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com. It's not in stores yet, but it's online. And my Instagram, where you'll find me mostly, is at COFFEWITHKASS, Coffee with Cass.
Kassidy, tell us a little bit about your book. What do you want people to know about Blameless?
Hope. One word, hope. I had so much not going for me, and my parents had papers to donate my organs. That hope is the one thing that I want to emphasize, because when you're in the hospital and doctors say that there's no hope for you to say your goodbyes, that does not mean the end all be all. Doctors are not God. Doctors are just practicing their work. Yes, they're great at it, but again, God has another plan.
I love that. Yes, sometimes God has other plans for us, and sometimes we can be that testimony to people that they can get through it, and that inspiration to people.
Right. Exactly.
So tell me about your life before the incident. What was it like?
Before the incident, I was a typical child growing up. No symptoms, no setbacks, just growing up in a family of 5. 2 older sisters. I was the youngest daughter, and I was just a growing towhead, bright blonde hair, almost white, and um, lots of things have changed, obviously, but yeah, just I was very adventurous, like you said, doing this, doing that, and then the preteen stage happened, and that's when I started to be in that rebellious stage as a preteen. And then I had my ruptured brain aneurysm and stroke, which put me in a coma for 4.5 months. And that's really when I felt like my world came crashing down. I thought there was no hope for me. I was really in a depressive stage and there was nothing going for me. But after about, I'd say 3 or 4 years, probably 4 years, is when the veil started to lift from my eyes. And I started to see that, hey, maybe this didn't happen to me, it happened for me. So
Wow.
that's when my whole perspective started to shift.
Was there something specific, a specific moment when you felt that happen, or was it a slow transition in your thoughts?
It was a very slow transition because I was only Okay, do me a favor, pop it into the 14-year-old mindset.
Mhm.
I yeah, those early stages of, like, how you wanna be like everybody else and do what your peers are doing, but I physically couldn't. I mentally couldn't. I spiritually couldn't, emotionally couldn't, all of the above. And so it was tragic for me to have to not only endure those times of a 14-year-old, on top of that, I had to take on the burden of everything is different around me. My body works different. I see things different. I cope with things different. But what I have learned is that my testimony was given to me for a purpose. It may not be for me, it may be for others. And I find that a gift in itself.
It's beautiful. I love that you took that and like you said, at first, it was quite a shock, and it did put you into a depressed state, and it did make you feel, overwhelmed and upset about the loss of the life you had before, and now you're looking at it in such a different way and saying, "How can I use this to help others?" That's beautiful.
Yes.
So in your book, you mentioned several supernatural experiences that happened while you were in a coma. Can you tell me a little bit more about some of these experiences?
These experiences, yes. So they're kind of hard to emphasize because, again, I remember everything before my aneurysm, everything after my aneurysm. But if you read in the book, similar, very similar to the accounts of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, it's their perspective on the same story, but they're different perspectives. And that's how exactly how my book is. It's my friends and family's perspective on my story because, again, I don't know what happened when I was in a coma, but they do. They have all the juicy, good details that I needed. So their perspective is in this. But a few of them I do recall just from like stories being told over and over again. So the first one I would say is very profound. It's what saved me initially is the fact that Rancho Springs Hospital here in Murrieta, they don't typically have their CT scan working constantly because it's an older CT scan machine, and it's unreliable. And you would think that like over the weekend they used it one too many times, so it'd be slow on Mondays. But I happened to come in on a Monday and it happened to be working perfectly. And then the neurosurgeon who I so desperately needed, his office was only 2 minutes away.
Wow.
It was right around the corner. Yeah, everything just seemed to fall into place over and over again.
In that kind of way where if anything hadn't happened exactly as it did, you might not be here today.
Oh, for fact, I would not be here. Yes. And so that was the first story, major story. Well, quite a few of them happened, but another one was when I was in a coma about, I would say 2.5 2 months after is when Okay, so you know what those empty blood vials? They're glass, but this one was empty and it was just sitting on it's called a cow computer on wheels.
Oh, okay.
This was in 2008. So it was a computer on wheels, and there was a vial sitting on the cow, and all of a sudden it was 3 a.m. and the vial got thrown across the room when no one was there because it was the middle of the night, and the computer on wheels started to shift and move and shake, and the night nurse who was on duty, she was just like frozen, paralyzed from fear. She did not know what was happening, and yeah, no one was there except her. So she was like, what do I do? What's going on? And then the light in my room started to flicker. And so um that's when the nurse started to later on that morning started to converse with my mom of what took place. And that's when they knew that I was light and darkness fighting for my body. And um, I wanna say the light took over because I survived, but, yeah, now every day I just live for Christ knowing that he fought for me.
That's an incredible testimony.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is truly beautiful.
Yes, it's just wild. It doesn't make sense at all, but that's how Christ works. He doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
And then in my book, I have to share this story is when I first started to realize when I was home. So, it's the very first picture in the book is of a dog licking me in the face. Now, to back it up, there are 8 different stages to a coma. A lot of people don't know that. But, yeah, so I came home in probably like a stage 5 or 6, nearing the end of the coma, but I was not all there. And so when I got home, they brought me home in a hospital gurney. I couldn't lift my neck, I couldn't do anything. And that's when my family lifted our house dog up. And that's when she licked me in the face. And I realized I was home from that point on. Yeah,
Wow.
special.
That is very special.
Yes.
That's an incredible story, and it just
Yes.
goes to show how much we mean to our animals too.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. I agree.
that's beautiful. What was your dog's name?
Penny.
Penny. Oh, that's cute.
Yes.
So we kind of touched on this a little bit already, but how did this near-death experience change the way you look at life?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. Okay, how I look at life. I look at life as a growth opportunity in every way. Just growing in your faith every single day and every single moment. I fully know that we all have hard times. Things don't come easily. Things come crashing down. I get that. But when we just look for that hope and look for that adoration that only Christ can give, that's when we start to transform and see life in a whole new manner of what it truly is, not based on your circumstances, but based on his promises.
That's a great way to look at life. I have to say I'm very inspired by you in reading your story and hearing what you're saying and how you've taken something that happened to you and turned it into a way to help people look at life through a new lens and help people look at things and find adventure and find Christ and just taking your whole perspective of what's happened to you and how you've handled it throughout the years. I think it's truly a beautiful story.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's all about learning how to get comfortable in the uncomfortable because living in your true, authentic self of who Christ made you to be is very, very uncomfortable because people are going to see you. They're going to see me shaking. They're going to see me not talking clear. They're going to see me pausing. They're they're going to see imperfection all over me. But you know what? That's where Christ does his best work, in those flaws that we all have, because that's real. That's true. That's authentic. That's who he made you to be. And when we hide that, or when we try to cover that up, that's when we start to see flaws and falling into the trap of sin and just being in the world of what we're not.
Mhm. Yeah. And that's when we let things take over our thoughts that lead us down bad paths, right?
Right.
It's Alice in Wonderland going down the rabbit hole and getting deeper into something. Whereas a lot of times all it takes is looking at those imperfections and seeing what our creator sees and seeing that we're beautiful,
Yes.
especially in overcoming things, right?
Yeah.
Because that creates a strength and a wisdom that we can then pass on to other people who are in a stage that we've already gone through, right?
And yeah, and to help them because you have that experience, but they need you so you can be that blessing to them.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
now your story can be a blessing to people who are going through the early stages. Those, first 3, 4 years before you change your perspective,
Oh,
before you realized.
I pray that so.
Yes. I
Yes.
truly believe that's why we experience the things we do in life, and that's how we can change it and make it into something that then in fact blesses others.
Yeah, so my something that I like to live by and I tell other people is to, or something that I do is to help others that have a hard time helping themselves. Because I know when you are down and out and you just don't feel like participating, or you feel like a burden, or you feel like you're being pushed to the side, or you feel like you're invisible. I get that. I have been there. I don't want to go back there. I don't want to see anyone do that. So being a true authentic friend is something that everybody wants.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something that is priceless.
Yes.
So, what is the key takeaway message you want people to understand from the book you wrote?
From the book I wrote, it says right here, hope is a choice you make, not a feeling you get. That is one of the main things that I love to talk about because every day you're not going to be in it. Every day is different in our human bodies. So you have to look at the light at the end of the tunnel and choose to see that there's more beyond what is in your vicinity, what is in your situation. It may be hard, you'll get through it.
That's a great aspiration too for people to hear that and to say, hope is such a strong word too. And some people, and I feel like especially in today's society, hope is something that we need. We need more of. And so thank you for emphasizing that in your book and making that such a strong point.
Course. Yes, that's, Christ gave me this book. So people always ask me, "Oh, it must have been so hard to write a book." And I'd be like, "No, no, not really. It was more painful to wait for other people to have their input in the book." So my doing was not that hard, because when Christ gives you a calling, he'll make it happen. So all I did was do what I do every single morning, just in a little bit different way. Journal, write my thoughts, write my perspective on things. And yeah, the hardest part was waiting for people and organizing it. But writing it was a breeze.
That's good to know. That's good to know for people who might be looking to write their story in the future too.
Mm.
Thank you so much, Kassidy, for your time today and for taking the time to explain these very important things that you've experienced and that you've learned throughout
Oh,
your life.
thank you. I so appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys, so much for watching this episode. To stay updated with things happening in the Inland Empire, please follow at MenifeeXP on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.